you very much for inviting us to your chef's table here at the Paris House restaurant. It's a great treat to be here. And are you enjoying being in the middle of the countryside?
This is a great venue. You know, there's very few restaurants that have got 22 acres of parkland, and you know, we've got venison running about outside the front door. We've got our own herb garden, so it's a lovely part of the world. Really nice to be here.
A bit of food pairing, food matching.
Yeah.
I brought two white wines here. So I've got a bit of Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire Valley, a Puy Fumé. So we've got that nice flinty, dry white. What do you think we could put that with to create an interesting combination of flavours?
Okay, well, what I've got here for you is part of an addition on the a la carte. I've got some salmon, which has been marinated in lemon and then cooked very, very slowly. The process is called a confit, so it's not going too hot and it's done in a little bit of lemon oil. Also with this, you'll see the fish is very, very pale. It's stayed very low in temperature, so the protein doesn't coagulate within the fish, so you don't get that sort of chalky paste that you can sometimes get with overcooked salmon, and some horseradish. Now, I think that'll work very, very well because you've got the oiliness in the fish that will work superbly well with the dry nature that you have of that wine, because that wine, I imagine, has got quite a dry finish to it.
Yes, yes, you're spot on.
And then you've got the horseradish, which is giving it a touch of acidity, so acidity, fat should hopefully balance out the
And allowing the cut through the middle of it all.
Absolutely.
Oh, super. And then the other one I brought is from California, from the north area, just above San Francisco and over to the coast, Sonoma-Cutrer Chardonnay. And here we've got the very best of California fruit. It's a lovely, big, ripe, melony-rich Chardonnay, but then it's been given quite a lot of oak aging, so it's got a lot of sweet vanilla wrap around it. So it's a big drink.
I must admit, California wines are probably my least favourite wines ever. I quite often find them quite abrasive because they are just so in your face. But I think it's a very good example of a wine that requires, you know, something really to cut through it. So what I've got with that is chicken and leek terrine. Now, chicken in its own is quite mild, but what we've got in here is some prunes. So we've got chicken, which is a beautiful neutral protein, and we've got the leeks, which is obviously adding a touch of onion element to that touch of texture. But then we've got the sweetness. Again, big oak, we need something that's going to cut through that. So we've got chicken, leek, okay? And also within the chicken, we've got some mustard. So I'm thinking the mustard with the sweetness of the prune should hopefully cut through that big flavour that you're going to have in that Chardonnay.
And with that prune, I imagine actually the oak wrap will go quite nicely with it because of that vanilla flavour running through.
It should
be quite interesting.
It should work quite well. I'm always a little bit sort of reticent of big oaky wines. I think sometimes with a lot of dishes they can just suppress them, and all you get is oak and just that power. And I think that's a real problem with a lot of wines.
So Alan, shall we start off with the Puy Fumé from the Loire Valley, our Sauvignon Blanc?
That would be good. I'll be honest with you, this is probably one of my favourite wines.
It's very adaptable, isn't it? It works across a range of foods, and it's jolly nice on its own, isn't it, on a warm summer's evening?
I could never in my wildest dreams sit down and think about drinking a glass of oaky Chardonnay, but that,
Yep.
I could drink that.
Crisp, fresh, nice little bit of lime juice on the nose almost to begin with, isn't it, as it's fresh out of the bottle.
It's very pleasant.
And it's got a nice middle that's sort of slightly soured fruit, isn't it, that just sort of really puckers up the palate quite nicely.
What I suggest we do, try a little bit of the fish with that.
Brilliant. Thanks very
And
much.
we've also got, this fish should yield very easily. And if you also try it with a bit of the horseradish as well, it'll give you a touch of acidity there. This is horseradish from the garden.
Oh, lovely. That sits very well, doesn't it? There's a great deal of raspiness in there. I'm going to have another go, actually.
Also, when we marinate this fish, we do use a touch of sugar as well, sugar and salt with the lemon, just to give it a nice balance.
That is delicious. It's also about the texture, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just sort of melts away in the mouth beautifully.
The other thing that's quite nice with that, obviously it leaves a touch of oil in your palate. That cleans it up quite nicely, doesn't it?
Exactly that. No, I'm spot on. And you pick up that little bit of saltiness in there, and that sits very nicely with the wine as well. That's a lovely combination. It's a very nice marriage, isn't it?
It's not bad, that.
And in general, you know, with Sauvignon Blanc like this, seafood is just the perfect accompaniment.
It does work. For me, we always try and look at is balancing out the two. I'm a great believer it's much easier to change the acidity and richness of a dish than it is with the wine. Okay, we can play about with the temperature of the wine and the glassware, etc. However, I think if that was too acidic, you would be banging. If it was too dry,
Yep.
again, it would be sort of fighting against it. So I think with this, just think about getting the balance of fat, the mouthfeel as well, and that cleans your palate beautifully.
And when you think of the regions as well where wine's made, certainly with the old world, here we are in the Loire Valley, you've got all of the seafood, the oysters and the shellfish all coming in from the coast.
Yep.
And these wines just were created over centuries to match up with that style of food, the sort of saltiness of the sea.
Yeah.
Does work very well.
It's a very nice drop of wine, that.
Now, let's see if I can just change your mind on Oaky Chardonnay. I think I'm in for a hard battle here, aren't I?
The thing is with these wines, I quite often find it, they're always a little bit, I call greedy wines. They're trying to grab all your attention and they almost bombard your senses with too much going on. I think it's something that, is a real symptom of you can't have almost too much flavour. You're trying to show too many different, real strong flavours in a wine. So I think
showing off almost.
Showing off,
yep.
Yeah.
So this is 2006, 4 years of bottle age. It's now at its peak as far as its development goes.
Interesting colour as well, isn't it?
Yeah, they do darken up, don't they? They get that sort of 18 karat gold hue to them. But it has got that sweet melon right at the heart of it, and then that oak wrap round the back. So what are we gonna try and pair up with this?
It's funny, I don't know if it's my imagination, but it almost seems to have a different texture to the wine as well. It almost, would that be fair?
Yes, I think you're right. You get a sort of there's a viscosity about it, isn't it, almost? But then it's got that quite limey finish that wraps around the back of it.
It's actually got quite a pleasant finish to that. I'm quite surprised. Okay, so what I suggest we try with this is the chicken and leek terrine with the prune. Now the prune, I think is going to be critical to this working because I think you're going to need something that's going to stand up to this bully of a wine that you have. So just try this. So you're going to have a slight onion element with the leek, and then the sweetness of the prune. And there should be a little bit of acidity in the chicken as well.
Oops. That's absolutely delicious. And you've got all those different textures going on as well. I think you've hit that. That works really well.
That's not bad at all. I think we could raise that. My gut feel would be a little bit of mustard, a little bit more mustard, just to give it a little lift.
A bit more competition for that.
A bit more competition. And a little bit of salt. So a touch of salt on that, a bit more mustard, I think would just lift it. But I think the leek with the prune certainly fights a good fight against that big Chardonnay.
But it just has, lurking in the back, it has more acidity than I thought it was going to have. It's hung on to that quite well.
And it's not as vulgar as I remember some of these sort of oaky American wines being, because quite often it's like getting a punch in the palate.
I know exactly what you mean.
That's actually quite a mellow wine.
Being north San Francisco and over west, you're very near the coastline, so you get sort of cool influences blowing in off the sea in the evening. So you get wines that very often have a less slap in the face style approach to them. Excellent.
Very
Thank
good.
you very much indeed. Treat. That was lovely.
That was very good.